Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope y'all are doing good. Boy, it's hot in Michigan today. If you can't tell, I'm sitting here sweating like crazy. So, shout out to all of you who are in the nice cold AC. Yeah, not so much here at the shop, but we're here to talk about a topic that's hotter than a firecracker on the 4th of July. And we've just had new breaking news, yet another revelation in the Sig Sauer P320, M18, M17. It's known by many things: drama, saga, catastrophe. And my question is the Sig P320 good to go now or not? Because come to find out, and I'm going to read a very brief article here from the Air Force Times. I guess maybe it wasn't just that the gun went off completely sitting there on the table that killed the airman. Apparently, there's a little more to the story, although we don't know nearly the whole story. We actually barely found out a little bit just a few hours ago, but maybe it's not exactly as it appears. Now, if I were to guess, some people are going to say, look, dude, this just lets Sig off the hook with everything now. Okay? I think there's some people that are going to sit there and say, well, hold on a minute. We need to find out more, though. I'm going to discuss some other options that could, in theory, come out to play, even with these new revelations where there's now somebody being charged criminally in the Air Force with the airman's death. And then there's going to be another group of people out there that are like, you know what? Just screw Sig and screw this gun anyways. Now, we can wait for the stream to go on, and I'll develop more of my opinion on this. And look, try to give you guys both sides of the story the best I can, but like everybody, I still have kind of a little gut feeling on all this, and I still have my way of looking at things. And although there may be some brand new revelations now with this Air Force, the airman that lost his life, Javon's his name, I think. We're going to get to this article. Lovan, I'm sorry. Lovan. So many different names are coming up because there's literally people having discharges with these firearms every day. Mr. Lovan. There's new revelations with his death, and it might not be exactly what everybody on the internet thought it was. And there was clearly bad reports coming out of people that allegedly knew what was going on in the Air Force. But with all that said, I'll give you guys a little teaser as to the inside of where I'm at with this. And although it's kind of like, ooh, this is just interesting when it comes to this whole saga that's going on, yeah, the price to play poker just went up, as the old saying goes. The core fundamentals of this is I still think Sig Sauer sucks. And I think they're just a crap company because of how they've been handling this the whole time. And that's what I said last week, and actually that doesn't really change my mind, to be honest with you. However, though, when facts of the matter do change, it does change certain perspectives of this. I think there's a myriad of problems with this. Heck, I've been talking about this for 8-9 years now with these SIGs and the myriad of issues that have been alleged to have happened. Alleged with videographic evidence, in my opinion, in certain cases, where you just kind of know it when you see it. In many cases. And Sig got really nasty about all this at a certain point. I'm not seeing them back off. I've not seen them apologize to all Americans who justifiably have been worried about this and who have been looking out for their friends and themselves and their family members. Keep in mind, in many cases, most cases, these people that have been going after Sig are Sig Sauer owners themselves. And also, in many cases, Sig P320 owners themselves. And you have the right to speak about things. You have the natural God-given right to speak about things and express your concerns and your worries. Both in the court of law, which there's a myriad of lawsuits against Sig right now, and also in the court of public opinion. And when Sig put up that nasty, nasty tweet, we'll read it again today in case anyone didn't know, but also just to refresh your memory, they came back nasty. And it wasn't what most people wanted to hear when they were genuinely worried about their safety, other people's safety. And an item that's been purported to, alleged to, and sounds like maybe with some reports that have come out, even the Army knew the whole time that it had issues, because that's also come out into the public purview since we've talked last. Look, there's been many, many issues with this. The fact that there be maybe more to the story with the airman's death may in some people's mind, and I'm already seeing that in places right now on the internet, completely exonerate Sig. It was good to go. All of this was just completely made up by the internet. Some people, they're already totally good with Sig, and this cancels out everything. Well, I don't know. Maybe some of you feel that way, and I'm sure you'll definitely let us know if you do, because those people sure do bark. And their bark's pretty big, but their bite not so much, because they have to be careful, because like that police officer that didn't get damaged when his you-know-what was shot off. You know what I mean? His private parts were shot off, literally, and him and his wife sued. His wife was part of the lawsuit because he can no longer, let's just say, do his husbandly duties in the bedroom with his wife. So she was a plaintiff to the lawsuit. And that court said, you guys remember this? This just happened a week ago. That court said, well, look, we do find there was a problem here with the product, but we're not going to award you any money because you already knew the gun was so dangerous just by you even using it. You know what I mean? You should have known better. So there's some haters out there. By me giving my opinion last week, remember I told you guys last stream, I said, dude, I was like 4 subscribers away from reaching 77,000 a month ago. I lost so many on my Declaration of Independence video. Yeah, that's sad. If you guys notice, I haven't even done a damn video since July 4th. Maybe I'll do another one tomorrow. Maybe I will in a week. Maybe I never will do a regular video again, actually. Look, people nowadays, they hate the Declaration of Independence, and they hate me for reading it. Well, the channel got almost up to 77,000 subscribers after recovering from the catastrophe of me reading. Well, I'll just be honest with you. I don't give a shit. Why would I care? I'm so sick of all these blowhards in the 2A community. I could probably very easily liberate myself and say to hell with all of them. And I'm not talking to you guys who are here right now, obviously. But the Declaration of Independence, that's my second favorite thing, quite frankly, that's ever been written, besides the Holy Bible itself. And that also makes me unpopular among some people. Well, I almost got the channel back up to 77,000 subscribers. I'm not a numbers guy, I don't care. You guys will probably see this channel pop up, and instead of saying 76.9K, it'll probably say 76 even pretty soon. You know what I mean? Well, the sycophants. You guys know what I mean? We're going to make up some new words here. Why the hell not? Everyone else speaks all these other languages now. All these people run around. They want to speak their jive. They want to speak their ebonics. Well, guess what? I'm old school. Speak English or get the F out. That's where I'm at. And then there's a lot of people that are white but don't know the difference. Look, everyone wants to make up their own words now. That's fine. We'll make up our words here. 2A Edu has the best words. We're going to call these people sycophants. You guys follow me here? They got pissed off. But their bark's a little bigger than their bite because they can't go too hard or they're going to shoot their boys off with their Sig P320. You know what I mean? One guy was coming at the channel really hard. He was as big of a sycophant as you'll ever see. And he come up to me. He was ready to square off, and we were going to have a mutually agreed duel in town square. And he says, I'm the quickest draw in the West there, son. Actually, he said something about being the quickest gun in Alabama. It's actually what he specifically said. Shout out to the good people from Alabama, by the way. It's not your fault that this clown lives there. I'm just saying. He says, I'm the quickest gun in Alabama. And we sat there doing the whole, you know what I mean? We squared up the brims of our hats, and you sit there and wiggle your fingers for proper form. And I said, draw, boy, draw. And he goes, and we both sped our backy. Draw. And he went, let's just say since then, his woman left him, if you know what I mean. So we'll see what the sycophants have to say about this. Some of them are very nice people, I'm sure. Very nice people. They just, I don't know, they're mad. They have low self-esteem. They're whatever. But I basically think, yeah, I still think the whole Sig Sauer company sucks. So there you go. I let it out of the bag. Now people don't have to say, get to the point, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a live stream. And I do enjoy all the good people here in the chat. And for those of you that wanted to know the scoop, there you got it. 10 minutes in. Sounds like there's more to the story with the airman who lost his life. And Sig still sucks. And shout out to all the sycophants. Let's see if we can get this channel down to 76,000 subscribers. It'd actually be great to end it on a nice even number, like 75,000. That would even be better. So shout out to all of you darlings out there. Before we get into this, though, I want to thank all of you. And there's awesome people here in this chat right now, like for real. I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to my YouTube channel members who I see in the chat right now. And I'm going to try to open it up to some Q&A for you guys before the stream's over tonight. I'd also like to thank all of you who maybe leave a super chat. That's your way of sponsoring the channel. I will read any of those that do come out tonight. And I appreciate all of you. I'm not doing an ad read at the beginning of this. But I will say there are some links down in the channel, down in the description, that do help support the channel, including an excellent deal and coupon code on Blackout Coffee. If you shop there anyways, use my link. They don't pay me to say that, but if you use my link, it does help support the channel. I'd like to thank all of my local supporters. Thank you. I'm looking forward to doing a live stream with you guys this weekend. And thank you to all my Patreon supporters as well. I appreciate all of you. And I see my friend Red in the chat. I wanted to give you a quick shout out. Thank you for like 2 weeks ago. You left me a Cash App, but I don't think I got a chance to read it while we were live. So if you didn't hear me thank you last week, I definitely appreciate that. And also, in a minute here, Red sent some cool documents to the channel, which is really cool, and it's appreciated and refreshing at the same time, because first of all, it means I'm not the only one that likes Founding Fathers documents. Isn't that right, Red? See, there he is right there. What's happening, man? Yeah, replay crew for the win. Shout out to the replay crew. All of you are watching on replay, even the Sega fans out there. But I'm gonna briefly show you guys some of these cool documents, and I like the way they were done on literally like old-fashioned typeset, like from Massachusetts on like an old-fashioned printing press where you have to set the little typesets in. And these are like, you know, of course they're not like original circa 1700s documents. Like those are literally under feet of bulletproof glass, but this is about as close as you can get, literally printed on the old linen, cotton type papers. And yeah, man, we'll look at these though a little bit closer in a few minutes. Last week I was out cutting grass and literally had the tube they came in, and it was hard for me to like get them open on camera, so I wanted to share them with everybody this weekend. And there you go. See, I can't win for lose, guys. I don't care. I don't even know who that guy is. Ben Stoger has used the word sycophant. Whatever. Oh, well. I guess he copied off of me. He was reading my mind. I said, we're going to make up a word on the channel, sycophant. I never heard anybody say that in my life. It's just what comes to mind. But we are on the internet, so actually to a edu, but actually to a edu. Mr. Stoger said it. Look, I like his guns. I like Stoger's guns quite a bit, actually. I have quite a few of them. I was just wearing this hat all day the other day, actually. So I'm a big fan of Stoger guns, and I don't know if that guy works there or not, but other than that, never heard of him. You can't even have fun on the internet anymore. Have you guys noticed that? That's all right, though, because the dead internet theory will be proven true soon. You guys ever heard of the dead internet theory, where there's actually not any actual people on the internet and it's all just bots and drones? And well, no, there's still real people on here now, but not for long. There's literally Second Amendment and gun channels that are done completely by AI, 100%. And there's about 10 or 20 of them a week that pop up on here. And they instantly get up to hundreds of thousands of subscribers. The amounts of fake subscribers out there and fake interactions are just through the roof. This whole site's 90% fake, just so you guys know at this point. YouTube, whatever it's called. And pretty soon, people are literally have gotten so lazy and so shallow, and there's so many dullards among us, just in general society, period, that people won't even be bothered to listen to a human being. You guys don't know how many times a week I get fact checked by people. Well, 2A Edu, actually, AI said this. AI refuted what you said. I'm like, yeah, I get it. There's no need for people anymore. Welcome to transhumanism. Good luck with it. Now, I'll keep my guns muddy and freedom, and y'all can keep the change. This AI is bad news. And YouTube terms of service is coming up here in 5 days, and there's going to be a new AI. So I'm actually going to start with this, and then I'm going to get into this new update with the airmen. Basically, they're saying that somebody else is responsible. There you go. We'll get into that in 1 second. But I promised you last week, so this is finishing unfinished business. There's this new AI that's going into YouTube where it's going to decide how old you are. You could be 70 years old, and you told YouTube you're 70 years old. And it's going to study your habits of what you watch, the types of content you watch, how much of it you watch, untold metrics that we're not even allowed to know about. It's going to use all of this. This is AI. Otherwise, it used to be like the plot of an old, kind of like sci-fi stuff. Kind of reminds you of like 1984. It was supposed to be a stark warning, not an instruction manual. And it used to be when they talked about AI taking over the world and taking over the internet, it was some dystopian future of a realistic but still sci-fi type plotline movie script. Now, it's here right now. It's already here. It's been here. One guy the other day is like, wow. So I did a Taurus G2C video 5 years ago. And I said, these are the 2 Galloway Precision upgrades I've put on it. We called it the Project Pistol, and I was going to keep modifying it and doing videos on it till YouTube came up with a rule right during that and said you can't show modified firearms. Yeah, more YouTube rules. And he said, wow, you were actually right. ChatGPT agrees that these are the top 2 upgrades to do to the Taurus. And I'm like, what do you mean I was actually right? Because so to think about this, 5 years ago, I do a video and I say, here's the first 2 upgrades I do. They don't cost a lot of money. They seem to work great. Here's the functionality I've noticed is improved. I recommend, I suggest. I bought those parts with my own money. Wasn't sponsored by Galloway then. Still am not now. And I was, just a regular working class guy. I bought this cheap couple $100 pistol, and I put $25 into it here and another $15 into it there. And I said, man, this is good stuff. Good bang for your buck. You've got AI going through videos that were done before it was even implemented. And it's now telling the average person out there what the real truth is. He's a Second Amendment supporter, but not a member of the gun community. Many of you may know him, many may not. And he doesn't need my shout out, but I'm gonna. There's a YouTuber named Mark Dice. Anyone heard of him? If not, check out his video he literally did earlier today, where he's asking 2 of the major AIs all these questions to see how woke they are, and it's startling. Well, here's the thing. Anyone doing Second Amendment videos, anyone doing gun videos, anyone who's wanting to talk back about, let's just say, race appropriations, cultural appropriations, anyone that's basically loves the Constitution, loves the Second Amendment, loves the Bill of Rights, doesn't really give a crap about any of this woke crap. YouTube's going to decide soon. they want you to watch their videos anymore. You could be 70 years old and it's the truth, and God would attest to it himself. Like, you're literally just telling the truth. Well, the AI may decide on its own soon on this exact site whether they think you're old enough to watch videos. Now, I've had tons of my YouTube videos over the years, age restricted, it's called. Age restricted. That means that nobody can watch it unless they've logged into their YouTube account and they've attested that they're at least 18 years old. Maybe it's 21 in some cases, but whatever. They're an adult. Here's the problem. More than half the views are from people that don't even log into YouTube. When your YouTube video is shared on another site and you're watching it as what's called an embed, it's embedded. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, subscribe, and share, YouTubers say, which is good. It helps support the channel, and I appreciate those of you who do. But when they share it somewhere else, a lot of times it's just an embed and you're not logged into YouTube per se, and age-restricted videos won't show up there. So in addition to them just doing mass age restrictions on videos and whole swaths of content, now they're going and they're cranking it up to a whole new level. Artificial intelligence will now determine on a case-by-case basis what videos are going to be suggested to you based on how old it thinks you are. Now, you can tell it you're 70, but if it decides you're only 17, maybe you like to watch stuff that's popular among kids. Maybe you like to watch stuff that they don't like you watching too much. They'll either A, make these videos. I have a feeling a lot of them like what I do. They're going to make them where you either can't watch them at all, or maybe you could technically watch it. It just might not show up on your suggested videos anymore. It might not show up in your feed anymore. So you might have no idea. You know, they've been doing certain levels of this for a long time. There's not a week that goes by. This is why I always say, shout out to the replay crew, because people come in and be like, dude, that was a good stream. Glad to see you're back. I understood you quit to YouTube a year ago, but I'm glad to see you're finally back, man. I'm like, what's this guy even talking about? So I'll come back, do tell. I didn't quit. Not yet, anyways. But I didn't quit, you know. And they'll come, dude, I'm subscribed to you, haven't gotten a notification, haven't seen you in my feed. I literally just was wondering what you were up to and had to type in the word 2AEDU. And I found you here, and I was glad to see you're back. I'm like, I never freaking left. Well, so this has been going on for a while, but now they've announced that this is going way, way up. So we'll see what happens. It's going to go into effect from now till the next stream. Some of you might know I'm streaming next week. Some of you might not. Some of you might see it, might not be able to click on it. I don't know. I know my analytics will tell me after everything renders a day or two after the stream's over that about 30% of the people that are watching this now or on replay aren't even logged into YouTube at all. I don't know how that's going to affect you all. I have no idea. No idea. Some people that like to kind of be, you know, anonymous and fly below the radar just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They might be forcing you to get more integrated in the system. And even if you are integrated in the system, AI, it's allowed to decide. And I say decide with heavy air quotes. I can see you, man. Like I said, who knows? YouTube's probably testing this right now because I'm already seeing people in the chat reporting stuff that's not quite on the up and up. Yeah, Pillbox Bunker, I saw what you said earlier. Do you miss Susan Wiki now? You know, in retrospect, maybe a little bit, but no, not really. This site went from being almost unbearable and now it's about virtually unbearable. It's about this close to being 100% unbearable for me. You know what I'm saying? But that's the deal. AI is going to be running YouTube and it's going to decide how old you are and what age appropriate content that you're allowed to see. I might be here Friday, Pillbox, but a lot of people might not know it. You know what I'm saying? It just depends. What's this AI going to do? This channel's had live streams ended before for not even touching a firearm, not even close. We did a live stream a couple years ago, and the whole purpose was the ATF was trying to make slides into a firearm. We were showing slides and saying, these are not legally firearms. You guys remember that? I even had a guest on here. I had John Crump on as my guest so we could talk about this. And they nuked the stream for holding a gun while I was live, even though I was not holding a gun. And the whole educational purpose of the live stream was to show that these are not firearms. It's crazy. And yeah, the comical thing, as Mateo brings up, is it's comical all the people who think by not logging in that they're avoiding anything. I know. If you want to go down a deep dive, go look up like Facebook and other accounts, your shadow account. By not having an account, they end up with more of an intrusive profile on you than if you actually have an account. I know it doesn't sound right. I know it sounds crazy. We're not going to get into it any further here tonight, but it's actually a thing. I'm just planting the seeds if anyone likes the rabbit hole. These sites actually set up shadow profiles for you that are more intrusive if you're not on it than if you are. I wish I was making that up, but it's true. Air Force makes arrest in airman shooting death involving the M18 pistol. So this is the compact version, the military version of the Sig P320. It has a manual safety, but from what I understand, the manual safety just blocks the trigger itself. But there's other things that are possibly malfunctioning, the SEER related, striker blocker safety related, slide to frame fitment issues possibly. There's a million theories as to why, and I think there is actually a myriad of problems. But this is essentially what we're talking about. The M18, this is the compact. The Air Force has arrested an airman. This just broke today, just a couple hours ago. Has arrested an airman in connection with the July 20th death of another airman, which involved a Sig Sauer M18 that led the service to suspend the use of the pistol following the incident. In a Friday statement, a Department of the Air Force spokesperson said that the unidentified arrested person is accused of making a false official statement, obstruction of justice, and involuntary manslaughter. That's 3 very, very heavy charges. If convicted, could and probably would go to prison for a long, long time. So these are very, very serious charges. Air Force Global Strike Command pulled the M18 from use after Braden Levon, a 21-year-old remote targeting engagement system operator in the 90th Security Forces Group at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming, was fatally shot with that pistol. The service's Office of Special Investigations is still investigating Lovon's death. As with all individuals accused of a crime, the person arrested in this case is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, the spokesperson said. No further details about the circumstances surrounding Lovon's death or the arrest were available. So we don't know much. We just know that this guy now has been charged and arrested, accused of making 3 very, very serious crimes: official false statement, obstruction of justice, and involuntary manslaughter. The M18, along with the M17, is a derivative of the Sig Sauer's P320 that the Air Force and Army have used. However, the P320 pistol has faced allegations that it is prone to going off accidentally without the trigger being pulled, Sig Sauer has strongly denied those allegations and said its pistols do not discharge unless the trigger is pulled. And that's the brief article that's basically breaking the news. I would know, not only has Sig Sauer strongly denied, they've actually admonished a bunch of the users of their products. They've admonished a bunch of people that wanted to talk about it, and they fought back and been real jerks to a lot of people. Just their tone, just their tenor, just the way they say things. And I know it's all lawyer speak. Well, they had to. Most people don't like lawyers. You can win in the court of law, maybe. They might lose big time in the court of law, too. But even if they do win in the court of law, you can win in the court of law and lose in the court of public opinion if you act like enough of a jerk. Isn't that right? I would also notice Sig started off by very adamantly saying you had to completely pull the trigger before a round could discharge. Then they changed the wording of that more recently and said just pulling the trigger a little bit can make it discharge. So it's like, well, hold on a minute. Pull completely versus pull it to any extent at all. These are two different things. Notice they've changed their story. They've acted shady. I think there's a myriad of issues going on. I think there's always been issues going on with this gun. See, keep in mind, the whole concept of the gun comes from the Sig P320. This was a polymer grip frame, if you will. Maybe not legally a frame, because a frame has a legal definition under ATF and when you fill out a 4473, but we'll still call it a grip frame for lack of a better word. And a fire control group, which legally becomes the firearm. This led to the options of convertibility. To a lot of people, it was and still is very appealing to be able to buy this one unit, the fire control group per se, the chassis, right? This is a chassis gun. And you could buy different grip frames, and you could have different colors, different lengths, a myriad of different companies coming out with these. With the grip itself, the grip frame not legally being a frame, so therefore not a firearm. And state laws may vary, but in most cases, sent to your house, and you could just own one legal firearm and configure it. Probably the sky's the limit now, 100 different ways. I'm not even joking. With all the third-party companies that have made different grip frames, colors, textures, ergonomics, different length sizes, all kinds of stuff. So, decent concept. Here's the problem. The Sig P320 was double action hammer fire pistol. Very long, heavy, deliberate trigger pull. Okay. And then Sig realized all of a sudden, hold on a minute, the craze is in striker fired pistols. The average guy, and some people do, some of you are revolver people and you feel more comfortable with something like a Sig P320. And some people really love their car firearms that some people have said feel more like a revolver trigger. Look, to each his own. I get it. But generally speaking, that gun wasn't part of the rage that was going to go forward as being a leading firearm. Okay. Are you guys familiar with that gun? Hey, some of you guys probably love it. And that's fine if you do. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I never cared for the thing. Never owned one. But I did have a buddy that did back in the day. Maybe he still does. Just haven't seen him in a long time. And I messed around with his a little bit. And I was like, I don't think this is for me. So they basically dovetail a striker-fired assembly, fire control group, chassis. Chassis is really the correct term for it, in my opinion. Some people call it's the fire control group's the firearm. The chassis. And they dovetail in a striker-fired chassis. And it's basically a gun that was kind of an ad hoc innovation of the old Sig P320. Does that make sense? Now, I didn't think, and I saw this out of the corner of my eye, Mateo, but I agree. Yeah, it was long and heavy like a revolver, but it was a crappy trigger, though. That's the thing. And I do agree with that. I wasn't a fan of it. But the Sig P320, in my opinion, Sig would probably refute this, and I'm not purporting to be an expert, but in my opinion, it wasn't from the ground up design. It was, like I said, via like the ad hoc method. Look up ad hoc if you want, of the P250. I still believe, in my personal opinion, this gun's been riddled with a myriad of issues from the beginning. It's true. And often that does happen with many things in life when you kind of dovetail and retrofit. See, the core foundation of your house may have been perfectly strong to hold a timber frame and vinyl sided house for the next 100, 200 years. But then when you decide all of a sudden, hold on a minute, I want to make the single story wood framed, stick built and vinyl sided ranch. I now want to turn it into a 3-story brick home. Now, it may be possible that your foundation was so overbuilt and so robust that you could do that. But not necessarily either. You could find that your foundation starts to crumble, where it may have been great for the original house that the foundation was intended to support, because there's going to be a big weight difference between a 3-story brick home and a single-story stick-built ranch with vinyl siding, right? And this is all my opinions, but if I were to opine, they kind of started off dovetailing. They find themselves behind the 8 ball. Sig was falling behind of what the new consumer market was demanding, and was getting to the point for a while there where for like service guns, it was going to be like a Glock pretty much no matter what, is probably what the armed services were going to take. And Sig said, no, we need this armed services contract. So in my personal opinion, it appears they kind of threw this whole thing together. They needed to get on these military trials. And the issue is look, when you want to have a striker fire pistol like this, and you want it to have a very light trigger with very short take up, that's going to be extremely appealing to many people. But as I said last week, I don't think it's a good idea for a service weapon, a duty weapon in the armed services, for a policeman, or for regular old people to be using for EDC in many cases. Not all, but many cases. I think there's something nice about having that longer, heavier trigger, to a point at least. I think there's nice about addressing it in other ways, like having a trigger blade safety or a hinge trigger safety. And here's the thing. I'm not a safety snob. I'm not a whatever. No. I actually I do not like manual safeties, like slide mounted safeties or frame mounted safeties, either or, on a striker fire pistol. But I do like to have my trigger either have a little more poundage and travel to it, either that method, a longer, heavier pull, or I like to have a trigger blade safety or a hinge trigger safety, because that gives me the peace of mind to know that the gun ain't just going to go off on its own. I like to have a couple physical things that will block the chances of it firing. Sure, a striker blocker, the safety that's usually resides from within the slide itself, that's good to have. But in many cases, and allegedly with the Sig, it's not always enough. Now, even the manual safety version, there's been allegations with the manual frame-mounted safety that's, quote, going off on its own. I like to call it manufacturer's defect. I can't stand the word uncommanded discharge. To me, that's kind of like using a very light word to kind of gloss over a very serious problem. If the gun has a manufacturer's defect and it's a dangerous good, it needs to be resolved. If it does, and it appears that it does in many cases. It really does. So we have this whole issue where they want the trigger super, super light. It doesn't leave any room for error. I said last week, look, when you make the trigger as light and the travel as short as you do, the Sig P320, where essentially the striker is fully cocked upon the cycling of the firearm, and you're basically, now I know semantically, But actually, two-way EDU, it's only 99.9% cocked. It first has to finish cocking that last 0.01. But yeah, whatever. I know it's semantics. I get it. Makes you feel good about yourself to get one over on somebody. Now, back to the real world. It's basically a single action striker fired pistol. Man, there ain't much room for error with a single action pistol. 1911, venerable design. Like I mentioned last week, all of these military guns have been known to have a myriad of physical issues, including the 1911. Who in their right mind, though, would run around with a round chamber with their 1911 single action pistol? And let's not even say it's a hair trigger per se, but your 3.5, 4-pound trigger, which is commonly found in a Sig 320. Who the hell in their right mind would run around with that thing with the hammer back, with its 3.8 pound, 4-pound trigger, without that manual safety engaged? Now, look, I'm not a safety Sally. I'm not at all. I don't believe in telling anybody what to do up and until they might shoot me, and then it's my right to step in because, well, all men are created equal, and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I have the right to life, and I have the right to pursue, not to be happy, but I have the right to pursue happiness. And you don't have the right to blow me away because you're carrying a gun like a complete jerk-off. It doesn't work that way. You always have the right, the inherent God-given right to defend yourself, obviously, against a bad individual person and or a tyrannical government. But nobody has the right to run around half-cocked, not locked, ready to rock, willy-nilly, killing innocent people just because they don't give a crap or they're stupid or whatever. No. And that's what the whole problem with all this is. And there's a bunch of stuff going on because I think there's tons of issues with these pistols, and I think there still are. And I also, at the same exact time, fully believe that there's a lot of people exaggerating and even out and out lying and talking smack and bandwagoning on this. And it's my opinion that a lot of this crap going on around on the internet actually really isn't very true, or it's not even germane. I've seen people do all kinds of rigged tests on these pistols. You know what I'm saying? I've seen all kinds of it. I've seen all kinds of stuff where I'm like, yeah, freaking right. Just some of these guys online, the way they're like really, really reaching to keep rigging it more and more and more. Now, again, that's not me sticking up for Sig where they deserve blame, but I think there's a myriad of things going on right now. I think these guns started off not on the correct basis, in my opinion. I don't think the whole thing was thought out, in my opinion, properly. I think the military could have done a lot better. For any of you who know me well, I can't stand shooting Glocks, actually. I don't like how they fit my hands. Now, I like the PSA dagger, and I love my PSA micro dagger. They did a better job with the ergonomics of it, and I love that my micro dagger holds 15 rounds, and the 43X only holds 10. And I like how it fits my hand better, and I like the trigger better. But here's the thing at the same time, and I just want to give you that preface. I'm not a Glock fanboy at all. I don't have anything personal against them. It's nothing like that. But I don't buy them. I just don't like shooting them. You know, it just is what it is. So why would I buy something that I don't like? I think the Glock would have been a far better service pistol, to be fair. And there's a myriad of others that I think would be better service pistols, to be fair. I think it's a weird coincidence that the head of Kimber that cheapened up those guns that went from very, very highly esteemed guns to having a myriad of problems. I think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden he started sourcing out parts, and it got to where some of the top 1911 gunsmiths wouldn't even work on Kimbers and wouldn't even soup up Kimbers because of all of the myriad of fitment issues and MIM parts and out of spec parts. This is all well documented. Go look it up. this guy comes over to Sig, and all of a sudden now Sig's kind of changing stuff up, and people have talked about certain portions of the fire assembly. It was designed and they were originally stamped. Then it went to MEM. Well, okay, MEM can be an excellent thing to do, actually. Just so you guys know, like your Glocks and almost all your modern striker fire guns have a myriad of MEM parts in them. MIM, metal injection molding. However, though, MEM can also not be done to the same standards. So you could have a MEM part here that's excellent. You could have a MEM part here that's terrible. And you could even have it anywhere in between, right? So there's this whole myriad of issues. I think there's YouTubers that are exaggerating. I think some of their tests aren't even genuine. I think it's just leading people in all these different corners. I think the whole thing's turned into a debacle. Now, we're going to get into the round 2 of this, whether this new revelation that now there's somebody who's being criminally charged with 3 very major charges, allegedly making a false official statement, obstruction of justice, and involuntary manslaughter in direct connection with this airman's death, where this Sig P320 was involved. Does this let Sig off the hook? Does this sink Sig further? Is it a conspiracy? Well, here's the thing. I don't know. But my mind is open to 2 different options here with this. Technically 3, but really 2. Before we do that, I'm going to read a couple of these chats that just came in. I did have a super chat from channel member Rescue Nut. Thank you, Rescue Nut. I appreciate it, man. And he says, coffee refill. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate the support. I also appreciate Jason Finch, Dr. Salty, for becoming a YouTube channel member. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. And we have Dale, member for 51 months. Wow, that's a long time, dude. Oh, man. He said, came for the G2C review. Stayed for the content. Man, dude, those were good times making those G2C reviews, actually. I should probably just switch this channel over to doing G2C reviews again. I think I might, actually. That's actually a good idea, Dale. Thank you for reminding me of that, actually. Were you guys getting in a little debate over the right to the pursuit of happiness and life and liberty? Or what's happening, Drew, in Oregon? How you doing, man? He says, but what if it's my happiness? Question mark, question mark. Everybody is question mark. I don't know if you're responding back to someone else or if that was, challenging something I said. I don't know. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. But if you were talking to me, and I don't think you were necessarily, my short answer would be, yeah, if it makes somebody happy to run around blatantly with wanton negligence, like carrying a pistol away in a way that it's almost sure as you know what to go off, and that makes them happy, no, you don't have the right to be happy in that way. That'd be when it's juxtaposed with somebody else's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But then again, like I said earlier, you may have not have even been directly refuting what I said. It may have been something you were responding to further up in the chat that I can't see. Because I have heard that argument, not from you, Drew. I'm not saying you're making this argument, but I have heard it before. Somebody like, well, hold on a minute. If everyone has the right to pursuit of happiness, what if someone's really happy and enjoys murdering people? Well, they should have the right to murder because that's them in the pursuit of their happiness. No, that would be that person's demented. That person is demented. That person's evil. And that comes back to the principle that's much greater than this topic. It's much greater than this country. It's much greater than all of this. We always have been, currently are, and always will be in a battle of good versus evil. There's evil, demented, sick, deranged people among us, and there's good people among us. And nothing's ever either completely black and white, so there's often a lot of people that are a mix of both, to be fair. Accidents do happen. I understand that. And I truly believe someone that has an accident is not necessarily as guilty as someone that does something on purpose. I believe in that. Again, everything's not always completely black or completely white. But at a certain point, after this and that and that and this and this and this, and there's like 100 different lawsuits going on right now. After a while, it's like, geez, oh, Pete, come on now. Get your crap together. Maybe there's faulty metallurgy in these guns. Maybe it's a stacking of tolerances. I don't know for sure. I've seen some tests that'll lead you in one direction. I've seen some tests that might lead you in another direction. SIG's acted like complete jerks this whole time, which isn't helping anything. It's only hurting everything, actually. And then look, man, everybody wants their 5 seconds of fame. Everyone's out to get a buck. I think there's some YouTubers that genuinely are just trying to help other people and get the word out. Absolutely. There's some people out there just for the sensationalism, just because they want to succeed. And it's fine to want to succeed. And then I think there's other people that take it a step further, and they're willing to be so sensationalistic. They're willing to, in some cases I've seen, almost out and out fabricate problems just so they can make more drama out of it. And I've seen all that happen. So now somebody's being criminally accused of doing something with this SIG. Now, they're not giving us any information on this. This is the only information that's been given in this brief statement, just so you know. Now, you're going to hear other people on the internet. Well, hold on. I know people that are in the Air Force that knew this. Just hold on. Stop trusting all your BS sources. No, I'm being serious. Everybody knew an insider. Everyone had a brother. If you know what I mean. Some people, some of my friends have said that's your quarter brother. My half brother's my quarter brother. Whatever. You guys make that make sense? Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. But here's the deal. Your quarter brother was high speed, low drag in the Air Force. He was in the room and knew what happened. See, everyone knows someone who knows someone allegedly on the internet. In the gut tumor community, I haven't seen bigger drama queens anywhere. I'm serious. You can go in the Afro Puff community where they're reviewing beeswax and Jerry curl and they nails and they bling and they weave. They have less drama. No, I'm not even joking. I'm being serious. These biddies in the beauty shop, literally, that community has less drama than the gun community. As a whole, not everybody. But just remember all this, guys. I'm being serious, and I'm not sticking up for SIG. I started right off the bat and said, these guys are a bunch of jerks. This whole community's filled, as far as content creators, the YouTube content creator community, with some really, really good people. And I truly mean that. I've met some of them, and I really do like them a lot. But 3/4 of these people are a bunch of drama queens. So everyone's going to tell you right this minute that, well, the guy was playing with the gun. He was doing this. He was horsing around. How do I know? Because of my secret uber-duber-duber-duber. Yeah, shut up. And here's why I say that. Sometimes people do have backroom sources, sure. But everybody had a source. And they knew for a fact that airman had just taken the gun off and it was sitting on the table. That never came from official reports exactly how it happened, did it? No. Probably didn't happen exactly that way, actually. So here's the deal, man. Should SIG be called out? Absolutely, 100%. I'm not asking anybody to slow their roll and take it easy on these people. Heck no. But you got to stop somewhere and think for a minute, too, that some of these people online are they always want to scoop everybody and one-up everybody. You know what I'm saying? And make up shit. So I just don't want people going too freaking crazy. That's all I'm getting at. Now, there's a couple things that could have happened here. Because all they're accusing this airman making a false official statement, obstructive of justice, and involuntary manslaughter. I've already heard reports coming out where he was fiddling with the gun and they were playing around with that. How do people know that? That's not in the official report. So either A, they were fiddling with the gun and horsing around with the gun, and the fact that it has a super short trigger, okay? Not a gun to be fooling around with. You don't want to be doing like in every 80s and 90s movie, and probably still movies today. I just haven't watched the movie since the 90s that I could think of, where the detective's running around with his finger on the trigger and he's He's sighting people in with all the slack taken. A gun that shoots is short and crisp and quick as a 320. That's not one to be fooling around with. So maybe, and we have no proof of that. I just said, this is literally like exactly what they're saying. This is literally all they're saying. That's it. It's the only official statement. And everyone else knew everything that happened 2 weeks ago and was wrong. So just take everything as it comes. That's all I'm really trying to say here. That could have been what happened. Could have been. But I'm not saying that's what happened. How would I know? I have no clue what happened. But here's the thing, though. Just because somebody's getting charged with a crime here does not necessarily let the Sig P320 off the hook. Until we find out more info, we're just speculating. But you can't completely remove them from suspicion. What if it was something as simple as this? And this is a what if. I have no inside sources. I know no tactical commandos, operators. I don't know anybody. Now, I do think the CIA and Susan Wiki and all these people that ultimately, the military-industrial complex, the Dutch East India Trading Company. Go look up all the various East India trading companies. They never left. They're bigger than they ever were. They know me well from watching this channel. I don't know any of these people, okay? But just kind of thinking here, it could be something as simple as it's a bit of both. Maybe the guy took his whole gun belt off, his whole holster rig, his whatever it's called. Look, guys, I'm so untactical. I don't even know the names of all this high-speed stuff. I'm being serious. He took off we'll call it his chest rig, whatever it is. Took it off, set it down on the table. Maybe it's completely against military regulations for someone to even touch it at all. So therefore, maybe the other airman just picked it up and went to move it 2 feet out of the way because he wanted to set something else on the table, and then it went off. So it is still possible. And I just gave you one example of a myriad of things that may or may not have happened. But it's possible that maybe the guy he wasn't running around willy-nilly pointing it at the other guy or doing anything out and out insane. Maybe he just against the rules and against the UCMJ just simply picked it up and moved it. It went off. So think about this. A, maybe that SIG never failed at all. That's completely possible. B, maybe it was a bit of both. Maybe somebody was touching or moving the firearm where they weren't supposed to, and it also went off on its own. I can see the possibility of someone getting criminally charged because keep in mind the first 2 charges, and this is just me speculating based on just common sense and knowing how other cases have gone. His first charge is accused of making a false statement. So it usually goes something like this. Somebody comes in and says, what the hell happened here? There's somebody dead on the ground. There's a gun. There's a dead person. You and you and you or whoever. We don't know for sure. We're here. What happened? They sit you down. You got to make a statement. Well, it sounds like he lied and made a false statement. That's what he's getting accused of. Now, I don't just believe the government because they accuse of someone. I'm just going down this narrative of the only facts or allegations we have. Obstruction of justice. That could mean you did something to try to cover it up. And the interesting part is that's where these charges can kind of overlap. Because if you make a false statement, that same false statement could be considered a false statement, which is one crime. But if the false statement was also part of you covering it up, then that same statement could instantly dovetail into a second crime, and that's obstruction of justice. Just keep in mind, you can verbally do things to get charged with obstruction of justice. Now, there's the more old-fashioned obstruction of justice where you physically tried to hide the evidence. You tried to wash something. You tried to remove something, which maybe that happened too. We just don't know. Or it's possible the third option, okay, is the gun did just go off on its own, and maybe this new airman's getting completely falsely charged. It wouldn't be the first time. So there you go. Let me know which one you think is more probable. But I think we can pretty much classify this into 3 categories. Either A, there was nothing wrong with the pistol at all. This one airman was doing negligent crap with the firearm, and he killed his fellow servicemen. Okay, that'd be the first option, and that's on the table right now. With the limited info we have, that's possible. B, he wasn't fooling around or really doing anything that bad, but he was just kind of doing something he shouldn't have been doing, although not super dangerous. And then the gun did go off, but the fact that he was doing something he should have, and then he lied about it, tried to cover it up, that could be possible. That's why he's getting these charges. Or number 3, maybe the gun just went completely off on its own. And this guy's getting framed, and it's a government hit job. Okay? Now, notice I didn't give you a 4th category where the guy out of complete malice and wanton just walked up and blew his head off. I don't think there's any indication of that yet, because then it would have been a murder charge. They don't charge people with manslaughter when the person literally just pulls a gun, levels it to somebody else, and pulls the trigger. So and this is all very early reports, but this is the only actual official information we have, I don't see the word murder charged here, so that's why I didn't give you a 4th option, because if witnesses or maybe security footage, whatever they use for their investigation, if they believe that there was a good chance that the guy just murdered the other airman, he would be under murder charges, not involuntary manslaughter. So involuntary manslaughter means he didn't mean to kill the person. However, he did something wrong and the person died as the result of that, right? And then they're also accusing him of basically lying and basically covering it up. I think the Sig 320 should just be gone right now from the military, because there's a couple problems here. There's been so many allegations happening, right? And if they're true, I have to say allegedly, but man, I just think you know it when you see it. In my opinion, a lot of this is true. Most of it's true, in my opinion. Then it just has to go. But then it comes down to where even if, I'm going to argue in the negative. I just told you what I believe 2 seconds ago. But to argue against myself, even if that isn't true, and even if these guns are perfect, it doesn't matter, man. It's called loss of confidence. When you've got people in potential situations, whether it's guard duty, whether it's in a combat role, man, when you got life and limb on the line and you've got seconds that matter and you've got to make real quick decisions and you're pushing yourself to the max to be the best airman, soldier, Marine, sailor, that you can be, you're not going to have time to really second guess and wonder and kind of pussyfoot around because you're afraid your gun's going to go off. You need to have confidence in your gear, right? This applies to a concealed carrier too, maybe to a greater extent, maybe to a lesser extent. And I say maybe because there's actually more people that use their guns, civilians that use their guns in self-defense each year, their handguns, than the military does. So this is what's crazy. It's like clearly the military uses their guns more than civilians. Yes, but kind of not actually, though. I mean, serious. More people are using their pistols in self-defense situations, civilians in this country each year, than military personnel are engaging with their sidearms with other people. Notice I didn't say that there's more rounds being put down range or whatever. I didn't read this stat, but if I had to guess, there's probably more civilian rounds in this country going down range out of pistols than the military too, by the way. But no, it's for anybody, man, whether you're a serviceman and whether you're at war, whether you're guarding something, whether you're a policeman, whether you're just a regular civilian protecting yourself, which are all very important. And the civilian protecting themselves is the most important, in my opinion. You have to have confidence. You have to have confidence in your tools. This is life or death situations. When seconds happen, police are only minutes away. You know that. And that's why most of you carry a gun. If you're just a little bit timid and you're just like, oh, man, I don't know if I should even reach for my gun or not because I'm afraid it's going to go off, you could be dead before then. Because the other guy could have a Glock and he's not worried about it and get the drop on you. Look, there's just such a myriad of problems at this point. I don't understand how. But here's the crazy part, man. I just found out recently, and I'm summarizing this, but from the way I understand it, the Army has said the SIG's just good to go. So I don't know, man. I was kind of looking for some of your input. I asked a minute ago, which of the 3 scenarios you guys thought it was. See if I got any. Yeah. YouTube may be filtering some of the comments. Or it may be abundantly clear this is not such an engaging topic. QD, is that you? What's happening, man? He says, it was an accident. I think so, too, because they're charging with manslaughter, not murder. Dude, I'm somewhere in between. Like, maybe this guy was, like something accidentally happened and the gun also went off. That's actually my guess. That's my guess. I don't have any proof. Nobody has any proof of what happened right now. Okay? Now, there's another type of accident. And look, man, I'm so conspiratorial now. If you look at a lot of the deep stuff the government's done, would I put it past the government that this whole thing was a complete and utter setup? I can't take that off the table either. I'm being honest with you guys. I can't take that off the table. I really can't. Do I have any proof of that? No, of course not. You never get real quick and easy proof of that. But I guess that's technically a fourth option. Is that what I'm declaring? No, but, you know, I think there's been a bunch of mistakes with the way this firearm, the way its inherent design was. Everything did need to be executed about perfectly. And I do always read my chats afterwards. And somebody said in the chat last week, and look, man, I have nothing against you. It's cool, whatever. But they said, no, the SIG the execution doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Well, yes and no, but in this case, they do kind of have to execute it perfectly because they put themselves in that position. When you put yourself in this position where you are choosing to use cheaper manufacturing methods, when you did invent the gun, not from the ground up, but again, this was ad hoc off of the 250 because they were scrambling to get that military contract. So I think the whole thing started off on the wrong foot, and anyone that's been around this for a long time knows this gun's been riddled with documented problems one after another since it started. They'll seem to fix one problem and another one pops up. You know, it's the whole thing where it's like, you play with fire, you might not get burned, but yes, sometimes you play with fire and you might get burned. You want to buy these MIM parts that are cheaper. That's okay if you can execute them perfectly. But when you have a trigger with a essentially completely pre-cocked striker, it has a very short travel, very low pound in most cases. From what I'm hearing, word on the street is as low as 3.5, maybe around 4.5, usually not over 5 pounds for these triggers. That's not a heavy trigger, if you think about it. They've been allegedly sourcing them from different areas, possibly from different countries. Look, there's a report that came out. There's a channel called Liberty Doll. I listened to it when I was cutting grass the other day. She did this whole video bringing out this whole report where it sounds like the Army knew all about like these specific concerns and issues a long time ago with this pistol. I mean, this is crazy. But this is the government. You know what I mean? The military's the government. Don't forget that. Look, I used to work kind of sort of for the government. I worked at a public school. Well, that's not government. Well, technically it is. I was getting paid by taxpayer money. And look, when I say the government's corrupt, the military's corrupt, I'm not talking about my friends that are veterans, my friends that are enlisted. Maybe you're in the reserve. I'm not talking about you guys. Unless you're the person that's helping to cover up, in my opinion, a lot of crap with this SIG, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about the military industrial complex. And that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about lots of money going around. In my opinion, there's always been tons of palms greased over these military arms contracts. You talk about this, there was a movie, The Lord of War, loosely based off of a real-life guy that ended up getting changed for some whatever. I'm on YouTube. I have to be very careful. Some basketball player. Remember? Putin had it, her, him, whatever. It's this one basketball player had them arrested, and we had this other guy, and we did a prisoner trade. And the Lord of War, you know, look. I did see that Lord of War movie because it was back in the 90s, and I still watched a few movies back then, maybe early 2000s. I can't remember. You want to talk Lord of War and weapon smuggling? Look no further than the United States military. These are the biggest arms smugglers of all time. The bigger the contract, in my opinion, the more palms are getting greased, obviously. Look at all the stuff that happened in the military with the M14. I know it's a long time ago, and some people might not remember, but that was a debacle that made it all the way into the heights of Congress. The debacles with the M16 that made their way all the way to the heights of Congress. Is that you, QD? Like my good friend QD? I don't know if it's YouTube messing with your account or what. No, this has to be you. Member for 31 months. What's happening, man? You're throwing me for a loop, though, because you just have the purple Q for your avatar, and you used to have your own avatar. I was about to be like, Pillbox, can you authenticate? Is this the real QD? Just like we've had to help him. Is that the real Jane Locke Pillbox bunker? No, there was a fake Jane Locke in here. Not even kidding, dude. QD, like I'm being serious, dude. There was a fake Jane Locke in here like crazy, dude. But no, what's happening, QD? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Member for 31 months. I seriously thought it was an imposter at first because you don't have your avatar. I'm wondering why the avatar is gone. Maybe because of the new YouTube AI? And thank you for dropping the $1 super chat. I appreciate it, man. Nice to see you, dude. I hope you're doing good. A lot of you guys know QD. He's been a regular in the chat for a long time. Haven't seen him lately, but he's a good friend of mine, so I just wanted to make sure you're all right, dude. I hope you're more than just all right. I hope you're doing, like, awesome. Mike McClune, member for 49 months. Wow, man. Wow. Okay, wait a minute. I got confirmation. It's him. Okay. Dude, you really threw me for a loop with that no avatar on there. And if you've been busy, I hope you've been busy in a good way. All right, Mike McClune. It's the real QD, Mike. I know you and QD know each other from hanging out in the chats. You got to watch nowadays, though, man. There's doppelgangers. There's weird stuff. Mike McClune, member for 49 months. Wow, man. I appreciate it, dude. And he says, wow, Moses sandals. Time sure does fly by. Dude, I appreciate it, man. That's a long time to be hanging out here. And I know over the last 49 months, there's no way possible you and Dale and all these other guys, there's no way you guys have agreed with everything I've said. I probably even pissed you off a few times. But, see, these guys are proof where I say, yeah, well, I'll still be friends. And I've been friends with a lot of you guys for a long time, man. And nice to see you, for real. So, the Sig P320, dude. Here's the thing, man. This gun's, in my opinion, has been going off all over the place. All right. You can just literally like see it sometimes with your bare eyes, like right there in front of you, right? So I don't think this whole thing where now they're charging this fella with 3 serious crimes. I don't think that necessarily just lets Sig off the hook. It really doesn't. Could it let them off the hook somewhat as the facts of the case come out? Yeah, on this exact matter. But man, like, you've just seen it, like, so many places, so many times. You have to be your own judge. But it gets to a certain point where you're just like, I don't know. Hold on, I got to type in this authentication code here. I'm trying to log in with my super duper top secret access. See, I ripped on all these other YouTubers for being drama queens. I'm the one that has top secret behind the scenes access. No. I mean, look, here's the deal. Some of these videos I've seen, I'm just being fair. I'm just literally trying to call a spade a spade. Some of these guys are kind of getting to the point where it's like, you know what I'm saying, right? I don't know. I'm trying to log into this account here, and it's giving me some heck. Oh, I need to use my email address. Hold on a minute. All right. I'm trying to, if you guys are wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to log into Cash App because once in a while, usually only one person, but sometimes a couple of you will leave me a tip, and I feel like super bad when I don't thank you while I'm still alive, and it's giving me all these fits trying to log in. Security clearance. Wow. Huh. Every time, man, you mention the military industrial complex, and look out. Oh, I'm serious. Like, I literally said, like, military industrial complex, and now I can't get into my account. Oh, man. I'm trying here. I'm just chuckling. If you guys know, you know. I literally said the words. What we're really dealing with is the military industrial complex. And then my whole computer locks up. I have to try to log into stuff. I don't know. What's happening, Denny's Plant-Based Journey? How you doing, man? Oh, I was saying hi to you just in time to say goodbye. Goodbye, Denny's Plant-Based Journey. I hope you're doing good, man. Nice to see you. Now, I don't know. What's Glock doing, Mateo? See, here's the thing. I'm not even a Glock fan. I'd like to see more like the Dagger and Micro Dagger get some contracts. And I wasn't joking earlier about that whole Stoger thing. Like, I do like Stoger's pistols quite a bit. What's up, Kurt24? Nice to see you, man. Agorizer, what's happening, dude? You in Knoxville? Like, you're from Knoxville, or are you down at the GOA Goals event? I didn't go to the GOA Goals event. I wanted to this year, but YouTube demonetized my last live stream. So I brought in $1.24 last Friday. At that rate, I could probably save up to go to the Goals 2064 event. In the year 2064, in the year of our Lord, at that rate, I'll be able to save up. No, I won't, because by then, it'll no longer cost like a couple $1,000s to go on a trip, or $1,000. It'll cost like $10,000. So my friend Red, our friend Red, knows that I like founding documents and I like neat stuff, and I'm trying to think of a way to actually display these because I do enjoy them. These come from the printing offices of Eddie's or Edie's, is that how you pronounce it, and Gil. And I did a little bit of reading on the company. I'm not an expert. From what I understand, these documents, and he sent me a couple small ones and a couple big ones here. These are done on the old-fashioned paper. It might be a bit hard to actually see it on the camera, but it has that feel to it where it feels like paper, but it also has kind of that cotton, linen type texture to it. And this is a huge document with a lot of words, small font size, but and tell me if I'm wrong, Red, because you may know more about this than I do, but I can tell just by looking at it that it's not just a photocopy, but they're actually setting up like an old-fashioned printing press and actually printing. And you can kind of tell by looking at it. It has a different appearance to it than just simply regular ink. And I think when I zoom in, actually you guys can kind of see that there. Now it's thicker and more robust, but if you notice the paper kind of has dimples in it like a paper towel does. So this is the American Crisis #1 by the author of Common Sense. And I do actually have Common Sense by Thomas Paine right here. Thomas Paine, very influential writer before, and you could say at the time of the founding. Excellent little book here, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it. So I am very familiar. Now, back then, this appears to be some sort of like flyer or and I don't say this in a bad way, like propaganda piece, right? And I assume the book Common Sense was very popular at this time, and people knew, and they would probably had more name recognition by saying by the author of Common Sense, would give it more of a name recognition than just simply saying by Thomas Paine. That's just me guessing. I do have to spend a bit more time, to be fair, Red, as you always do with things like this, to become a bit more familiar with all context. However, I do look forward to reading it. And although I could just simply read this online, no doubt, I'm sure somewhere, but I like actually having it. It's kind of nice to have like things you can actually touch and display and enjoy. So I appreciate it. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it all to you guys here. I lost more subs than I can count off of reading the Declaration of Independence. I'll read the Declaration of Independence to thin the herd out. Wait a minute, what have we here? Hold on, Red. Hold on. He says it's flyers from Boston informing the people how news was spread. Came from original press that printed them in the 18th century. That's what I thought. So like the actual press itself, where you literally have to line up in the rows, it's called typeset, like these little individual pieces of metal dies, right? And people in modern day times, tell me if I'm wrong, Red, but thank you. Please fill me in. I want to know more. And maybe some of the people out there want to know more. I believe they actually sat there and used that same press, and people in modern day times lined up each individual character, am I right? And printed them off. Maybe not with the exact paper, but getting close to the type of paper used at the times, correct? And these were printed in Boston, right where this stuff started. I haven't maybe researched this enough, so tell me where I'm wrong, Red, but that's kind of what I've gathered. Yeah, M. Gabriel. What's happening, man? The most popular book at the time, short of the Bible. I know. I saw earlier. Wait a minute. Who's this? Pillbox. Is he back? Wait, no, you just changed your avatar. Was Susan Wiki messing with you, QD? Because that one that just had the letter Q on the screen earlier, it said member for 31 months. So that had to be you. But you just texted me and said it was. Now I'm confused. Has one of the various East India trading companies gotten into my phone too now? Just tell me you're doing good, QD. If you're the real QD, that's all I really want to know. Are you doing good, man? You guys see how this messes with me, right? What's up, Pillbox? You saw what happened, right, Pillbox? It just had a Q, and I'm like, that might be an imposter QD, but no, it said member 31 months. Now he's back. It was weird. It was me. It just didn't show. Okay, cool. Okay. That's awesome, dude. That's cool, man. You guys got to remember, I care about you guys, and I don't trust the feds very much at all. I trust them like not at all. So when I see weird stuff, it kind of gets me a little nervous on a personal level sometimes, making sure you guys are okay. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. And you can clearly see that this was at an old-timey press. And this is cool because you really can't exactly simulate this. See how some characters struck and hit a little harder than others? Wait, let me zoom in a little bit more. See? Now, this is what's interesting here. So you can kind of see that, like, it doesn't look 100% consistent. Well, that's due to using old original equipment and using old-timey methods. And this was state-of-the-art at that time, keep in mind. Much, much faster to mass produce this way than to write out with the pen and the quill. But if you look here, and I kind of went down a little rabbit hole on this. Some of you guys might want to as well. When in the course of human events, it becomes, well, we know it should say necessary, but it looks like nefary. See that? Well, hold on. Here's another clue here. Again, I'm not a scholar on this. I'm always learning new things. See how it says John Hancock? And it looks like almost at first that it says Profident. But when you look at it a little closer, that's not a true F because the line isn't struck all the way through it. Okay? So they had a series of abbreviations at that time. And I don't want to go into it too deep and bore you guys, but I did go into a little research on this. What almost looks like an F is actually not the letter F at all. It was a different character that has the long S sound. So although they did have the letter S in the vocabulary back then, instead of, you could see, so look, United States of America. So they knew about us, but when they wanted it to be pronounced with a certain pronunciation, they would use something that looks close to an F, and it would have the S sound. So there you go. It's not literally a letter F, but it's to indicate that it makes this president. If you guys want to know more about this, I could actually get into a whole thing on it. I just don't want to get into it too deep because it might be esoteric for some. But you'll see that same character to give a pronunciation connotation. Powers in such form. So that's what's actually pretty cool about seeing an actual. Now, this was from what was printed in Boston. Other people had presses going at the same time, correct? John Hancock, a lot of people want to know. He wasn't president of the United States. Why would they call him president? Quick question. Yeah, it's kind of esoteric, Egorizer said. That's a good one. Who was John Hancock? What was he president of? I know the answer. I just want to see if anybody else knows. You know what I'm talking about, Red? You can actually feel it too. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, you can see it. This is three-dimensional. You can feel that it was actually struck, as in embossed. So I think you guys can actually see that little shadow. Can you see the height there? Does it give you that perspective? I think it does. Now you're clearly seeing the shadowing of the ink, but you can feel it with your fingers, and it actually sticks through, especially on the large typeset where it was struck. But even to a smaller degree here. So you have to remember, the time of the Declaration, the colonies, when America was declared, there wasn't a president instantly, but there was leadership and there was a form of government. It was called the Continental Congress. And Red was the first one to guess, lucky guess, right, Red? Or maybe he already knew. President of the very first Congress. Okay? Or the pre-Congress would be another way to word it. Because Congress actually has, here's the interesting part. You call it the United States Congress, and you just kind of hear what it means, but the word Congress just has a regular old word meaning to it. that you don't use as much today. But you could say all of us are here in Congress to stand up for the Second Amendment, right? People congress, like, come together to form. American Crisis and the poem, which I have, again, several documents here. Here's the American Crisis, number 1. Declaration in old-fashioned, literally old-school, original printing press style. I also have, as I showed you earlier, this is the large, full, the American Crisis number 1. And I also have over here, he sent me a whole stuff, a whole tube of stuff. Thank you, Red. And here is T, destroyed by Indians. This is interesting. I've actually not got a chance to read this one yet. I'm kind of doing like an unboxing in real life for everybody. T, destroyed by Indians. Huh. No, the Indians were a big deal. If you look back to the Declaration of Independence, they talk about the savages. Here's a little explanation that they included here. And I don't know if you even knew all this was included, Red, yourself, because some of this is clearly, like typeset printing press. But then they put in a couple that are just kind of like little informative, just done on like regular paper too, just to give you like as a guide. Were these Indians from India, or were these the savages? Indians, because there's both types of Indians at play too. Keep in mind, I said it earlier. We talk about, you'll hear things like the East India Trading Company, right? So if we're talking tea, you might be talking Indians of India too. But there were also the Indians, the savages too. I don't know. There was also the Indians, if you're talking about a very specific event, okay? There was white colonists who dressed as Indians to go do their deeds. So I haven't had a chance to read this exactly yet or look up the history. Let me see here. If it's from the Boston Tea Party. It's from the Boston Tea Party. Yep. White Indians who hate taxes. There you go. If it's very specifically about the Boston Tea Party, then yes, that would have been white colonists dressed up as Indians. India can mean many things nowadays, actually. All right, do you guys have any questions? If there's any questions from the chat or anything you want to talk about, I'm going to read some chat. In the meantime, though, I made a little post on X. Let's go over to the 28EDUX while you guys see if you have any questions you want me to read out there. I just want to remind you all of this. If you want to know why I'm being a little bit spicy about Sig, make sure you guys are following me on X and Locals, by the way. I'm being serious. Red knows what I'm talking about. So does the Unscratchable. Traveling 1970. These guys know what I'm talking about. Trust me. Kip, Denizen. There's some deals out there that are literally hot. Like real hot. Like some of them like almost too good to be true. The economy's down. The gun and ammo economy is down, which means it is a buyer's market, and I post this stuff over there every day, so make sure you check it out. Right here. Sig Sauer, the P320 cannot, under any circumstances, discharge without a trigger pull. That is a fact. The allegations against the P320 are nothing more than individuals seeking to profit or avoid personal responsibility. Recently, anti-gun groups, members of the mainstream media, trial attorneys, and other uninformed and agenda-driven parties have launched attacks on one of Sig Sauer's most trusted, most tested, and most popular products, the P320 pistol. In all cases, these individuals have had an ulterior motive in all cases. See, this is brazen, man. This is why these people just suck. Just typing something like this. In all cases, these individuals have an ulterior motive behind their baseless allegations that the P320 can fire without a trigger pull. They have no evidence, no data, and no empirical testing to support any of their claims. They instead choose to misrepresent clear, negligent discharges as a, quote, design problem. In the decades since its introduction, the P320 has undergone the most rigorous testing and evaluation of any firearm by military and law enforcement agencies around the world. It consistently delivers a proven record of performance and reliability through state-of-the-art engineering and documented quality control. At every stage of its production, claims that unintended discharges are anything more than negligent handling and or manufactured lies to support an anti-gun, anti-SIG agenda are false. Furthermore, lawsuits claiming that the P320 is capable of firing without the trigger being pulled have been dismissed in courtrooms around the country. In addition, multiple plaintiffs, so-called experts, have conceded it is not possible for the P320 to discharge unless the trigger is fully actuated. The rhetoric is high, and we can no longer stay silent while lawsuits run their course in clickbait farming. Engagement hacking grifters continue their campaign to hijack the truth for profit. Enough is enough. From the courts of law to the court of public opinion, we will combat the lies and misinformation with the truth. Sig Sauer stands behind the quality, safety, and design of all of our products, especially the P320. Industry, take notice. What happens today to Sig Sauer with the anti-gun mob and their lawfare tactics will happen tomorrow at another firearms manufacturer, and then another. Today, for Sig Sauer, it ends. I mean, if that's not a literal F you, then I don't know what the heck is. Let me see if you have any questions. If not, I can go over this post that has nothing to do with guns or the Second Amendment. It NDs today. Yeah, I know. Oh, it just gets on my nerves. What's happening, QD? Jumping in with a generous $20 super chat. Thanks, man. He says SIG equals superiority in gaslighting. Ooh, I like that. I don't think I've actually heard that one yet. That's cool. SIG equals superiority in gaslighting. Dude, that statement that it NDs today is like the epitome of gaslighting. At least half of it is. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's right, Anita. It's kind of. No, that is a good one. Yeah, his avatar came back. His jokes came back. See, QD's back now. The CIA may have been able to take his identity, but they couldn't take his jokes. They seriously took our friend's identity for the first half of this stream. Well, his avatar, at least. Right, Rosie? Did you guys see this crap? Look at this. I'm seeing if I have any questions here. I don't see any right now. We'll look at this. So I made a post on X the other day. I said Beyonce is still black, whether she thinks she is or not. I'll pass on her jeans and jeans. I spelled it both ways. Have you guys seen this crap? So here's how this starts. Now, this one here, I'm not really a fan, actually, of this either, but I do think it's funny, only insofar as all the leftists getting butthurt. I'd say this girl's kind of mid-grade. She's definitely not, I wouldn't really consider her to be, she ain't race gas, she ain't 101 octane. I wouldn't even really consider a 93 octane premium. Maybe not 87. She's 89 octane. I consider her mid-grade, to be fair. However, I think this is kind of funny in a way, just because of all the butt hurt that all these people are getting. So you guys have probably already seen this.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look very amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sig P320 has great jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Okay, so there's a myriad of these, and wow, look at all this stuff that comes up in the suggested as soon as you type that in. So there's the whole play on jeans, Jeans. Then there's the jeans, Genes. She has great jeans. Okay, you're all familiar with that. You probably all get it. It is kind of funny in a way. And her herself, look, I don't know really anything about her. I'm not going to be mean to her inherently because I don't know the young lady. I don't think she's that hot, but she's probably considered all right in a lot of people's opinion. But it's just the whole thing that's been going on. And there's been a bunch of commercials. It's showing what's going on in culture right now is what it really has to do with. Okay. I'm not idolizing her. I'm not telling anybody to idolize her. All I'm saying is it's supposed to be the whole, she has good genes, Jeans, and since apparently it's supposed to be a common thing where most people, and again, not my preference to be honest with you, but she's considered to be hot. So she has good genes. Well, the left, the only reason why I think it's kind of funny is because the left is going berserk saying, oh my gosh, she's a white supremacist. She's a National Socialist German Workers' Party. You know what I mean? And that I do think is funny because they're all going berserk and they're completely losing their mind. So I am intrigued by the social reaction and social experiment of all of it while not being highly intrigued in the actual underlying topic. Does that make sense? It's a jeans commercial. I thought all of you guys knew, but if you don't know, this is just one of many, and there's several of them. There's the her with the sports car, and it's kind of turned into a whole thing. And it is kind of cute in a way. I'll be honest. It's kind of funny, like in a she has great jeans. Okay. Yeah, I get it. It's funny because it's a blue jeans commercial. And I think it is kind of cool that you couldn't have even posted anything like this a couple years ago, which shows that a lot of people went woke, got broke, and wokeness is leaving quickly. Now, there is videos of Sydney Sweeney shooting at Terran Tactical from a few years ago. Some say she's super liberal and it was a big Kamala supporter. Other people say no, she's actually pro-Second Amendment and that she's a Republican. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of cute because if you look back just 5 years ago, white people had to get down on their knees and confess and repent in many of the big cities to Black Lives Matter and renounce their whiteness, which I thought was completely abhorrent then. I think it's completely abhorrent now. And there was no chance a commercial like this could have come out 5 years ago with the way everything was literally insane. They would have burned down the headquarters They would have burned down everything. And if you guys look at it in perspective, that's why I think it's kind of funny. Do I think it's like super duper awesome? No. Do I like this Sydney Sweeney character? No. I don't think she's that hot, but I can't really say anything against her because I don't know her. Like, she might be a nice person. She might be cool. She might not be. I haven't done enough research on her. Okay. But this is the whole rage with the internet. Now, has anyone seen the response? Because I thought all of you guys knew about the whole Sydney Sweeney thing with American Eagle jeans. I thought you guys definitely knew about that, but it appears maybe you didn't. I was just showing you this to set up the real video I want to show you. You know what I mean? So I think we're on the same page. If you don't know yet, look into it. You can go to American Eagle's YouTube page. There's a whole bunch of commercials. They're saying she's a white supremacist, and it's just the left's going nuts over it. I think it's hilarious, and good for her and good for American Eagle, actually. It's about dang time white people stand up for themselves again. I happen to be white, and I'm perfectly happy with how God made me. I'm not ashamed of the color of my skin. I'm not ashamed of my blue eyes I'm not ashamed of any of that. And you shouldn't be. And we've been told for a number of years now. I know I'm pretty sure most of you probably rejected it, obviously, but society has tried to all basically say, look, if you're not some kind of whatever, if you're not some kind of freak, or you're not some type of color to you or whatever, then you're a complete reject. You should hide your head in shame and you're an oppressor. So I think it is funny. It's funny in a screw off kind of way. You guys know what I'm saying? Yeah, she's white and she's blonde. Too tall's out. Absolutely correct. And there's nothing wrong with being white, and there's nothing wrong with being blonde. And if anyone tells you there is, tell them to venture forth and fornicate themselves. But the left's going nuts. So then they come back with this. Make white people great again. And then we come back with this. Now, I thought everybody knew about the whole Sydney Sweeney thing. I thought. Has anyone seen this yet? Oh, this is from the Beyonce channel. Beyonce, if you will. Yeah. Remember I said earlier? There's all these people running around with their jive, with their ebonics and whatnot, trying to completely change the English language. Now there's some people that say they're white but don't know the difference. Anyone ever heard of that saying? Yeah. Now look at this one. She's confused what the heck she is. This is a... Tell me what you think of this. So, a little bit of context with this Beyonce. Or Beyonce. Whatever you want to call her. I don't even think that's her real name. She's literally made brazen statements. Brazen statements in the past about cultural appropriations. She has said that white people shouldn't be able to be rappers. Okay. Now, she's, in my opinion, doing a Michael Jackson. It looks pretty obvious. Lightening her skin, putting on a blonde wig, and now she's a country star. And now she's the denim cowboy. And this is a complete response to the Sydney has great jeans, right? So now here's the pushback, and this is from No, I like.
Jeez, waves popping out your phone. Baby, you play too much.
This is supposed to be country music.
Be out in the animal. Baby, I was in the phone. I know to go.
Now look how trashy these are. Just to be
Baby,
fair,
let me
this is way more faceless than the white girl video. Cars.
be a sexy little.
Yeah, right.
Snap a picture, bring it on.
Race trailer. Look at this.
Know you wish you were.
You guys just see this?
Little
Look at this.
at the sea. Be a sexy little thing.
Race
Snap a
trailer, my
picture,
lord.
bring. Know
Yeah.
you wish you were.
This is the Levi's team. This is the Levi's team bottle. See how it had the two eyes and then they changed it over to. Did you guys see that yet? Did you see that? Well, that's why I'm showing it to y'all. What do you think that is? What's happening, Liberty, Nevada, 1874? What's happening, dude? It looks like I saw earlier where you had shared this stream over on X. So thank you for doing that. I'll give you a heart over there. Make sure you guys are following Nevada Liberty 1864 over on X. Regularly shouts out. I think pretty much every Friday shouts out these live streams. So here, let me show you. Let's give this guy a proper shout out here. Nevada Liberty 1864 over on X. It's just at Nevada Liberty 64. Always sharing this live stream every week, and I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I asked you guys if you had any questions about stuff, and I didn't really see any at the time, so I thought, well, maybe you'd like to see this whole like white jeans versus black jeans, clearly the thing that they're getting going here, you know, pretty obvious what they're responding to. Look, I think the Sidney Sweeney thing, I said it earlier, I'm not going to repeat it. I thought it was kind of clever and kind of funny in certain ways. I thought it was insane how the left reacted. And then this Beyonce thing coming back, that is, yeah, that's abhorrent, just starting a bunch of crap. But yeah, QD, they've been going after him, they're going after calling her racist and this crazy rage stuff. Yeah, dude, don't look into it. I'm just wanted to throw this up here and see what you all thought. She's not successfully been canceled. You're right, JR. No, she's not been canceled. American Eagle actually doubled back with their ads. Correct. It's actually highly successful for them. What I'm saying is, yeah, the left tried to go after her and they didn't succeed this time. Ferocious Kitsu says, I mean, I don't think anyone should be a rapper, but that's just me. I agree. I'm not a rap fan myself. I do like country music though, and the fact that they've said she's a country star now though, man, I don't know about that. Do you guys think she's a country star? Lyle Smith, was this blackface, whiteface? Well, you'd have to be like a Democrat governor or whatever to put on blackface, I think. I would do a stream in blackface for fun, but I don't know, man. It's just like I'm out sweating all day in the dirt and grime and whatnot, and just having all that black makeup on, mascara. First of all, I'd have to buy the old lady if I dipped in and took all the mascara out of the medicine cabinet and used all of that. That would suck. I'd have to go buy her more. And then, I don't know. I just don't think I'd like all that stuff on my skin. But other than that, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it'd be funny. It's just mascara is expensive nowadays. Yeah, I know. I talked about that earlier, how the guy didn't get the compensation in his lawsuit. Because Sig said he already knew he was operating something that was that unsafe. I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Red says, I'm at the point where I'm so tired of the division in society. I pray every day for people just to wake up and come together. You know, that'd be great in theory, but here's the problem, man. People are just tribal. It's always the way it is. I've gone in full circles on that whole topic, really. I've actually gone in full circles on that topic. And it's a long topic, but since we've been on for about 2 hours, maybe we'll broach it another day. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And we'll see what's going to happen with YouTube. This new omnipresent AI is coming in just a couple days. We'll have to see what that's all about. The whole Sig thing definitely got a bit more interesting, that's for sure. And in the meantime, like Mike McClune saying, he's right. It's one thing everyone should be united about. It's not just Americans, but the world is. Agenda 2030. But everyone just dismisses it when I mention it. I hear you, man. No, I don't dismiss you, dude. I get it. Like, yeah, Agenda 2030, that's a big deal. It's real. It was written long ago, actually. But, you know, the more things change, really, though, the more they just stay the same. As much as everything seems to be happening, nothing new really happens. It's all the same thing, really, just with a little different spin on it. It's a battle of good versus evil, right? Truly is. That's why I try to joke around in these streams and make fun of stuff when I can, because it's still nice to lighten things up and have a little bit of fun. I try to be reasonable when I can, because you want to try to like give both sides to a story. And I think I went over that tonight to a decent extent. But then I'm just a person too. I have emotions about things, and when I want to bash something, I'll just bash it. Just because I don't like it. And you guys might like it, but I'm at least going to tell you how I think about it, you know? And I think that's the way it is with all of this. And it actually reminds me of a good set of verses here that I've read many times. But there's a reason for me to read many times, so. This is from Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. To everything, there is a season. A time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to gain and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Just remember that, everybody likes to put different spins on different things, changing words outright in many cases, but it's awesome to love things and to love people. It truly, truly is. But things, they're trying to change now, societal norms, and they're trying to tell you you're not allowed to hate anything anymore. Actually, it's perfectly normal to hate things, obviously. You should hate things that are evil. You should hate things that are wrong. You should hate some things that people choose to do. Some things I think are immutable, but still should be hated, actually. If something's evil, you know it's evil, and you can judge it by its fruits, it's okay to hate these things. Good times make weak men, right? Weak men will turn around and make bad times. And then bad times will make strong men. And then strong men will make good times. And there goes the circle. But again, there's really nothing ever new here to any of this. People are strong and they make good times. Then good times make people weak. And I've had a lot of people tell me over the years, and a lot of people still do today, well, you should never hate anything. Oh, really? Oh, really? No, I think it's perfectly fine to hate things that are evil and to call them out and call them what they are. I believe tyrannical governments are evil. I believe totalitarianism is evil. I believe power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the way it's always been. To deprive anybody of their natural right to keep and bear arms is an evil thing to do. And it just gets me, man. I'd almost like to find it kind of funny in a way, even though that's not very nice of me, but I can't, because I find it too sad. You're not supposed to hate anything. Well, says who? Well, as a Christian, you're not allowed to hate. Oh, really? Because this was written, not by me, but written long ago. Time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. There's times for different things. And when people say, well, look, dude, you don't want to be black-pilled. I don't even know what that exactly means, really. Because I think it is okay to swallow a pill that's like half black and half red, if you will. Whatever color. People use all these colors as euphemisms. No, it's okay to talk about crap and call it out for what it is when it's actually bad. And it needs to be called out. But if there is times to rejoice, you should rejoice. And while there's certainly people and things and evil principalities, because remember, our fight isn't with the flesh and blood, it's against principalities. And there's certain things that should be loved. There's many people that are deserving of your love, and you should. And then there's also plenty of things that are deserving of hate. There's many things that are peaceful, and you should do whatever you should to keep that peace. But then there's some things that it's worth fighting wars against. And all of this. People say, well, can you believe this? Can you believe that? Dude, of course I would. I'd believe anything at this point. I guess the older you get, the more you realize what you really don't know. But then you can also kind of realize, dude, there's really nothing new under the sun. Nothing new truly actually happens, does it? Now, the details and nuances obviously will change, but the underlying principles, it's always been the same thing. Principalities, evils, love, hate, all of it. I hope you all have a good weekend and enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you all either tomorrow night or Sunday night. I haven't completely made up my mind over on Locals, and I'll be happy to hang out with all of you over there, and I'll see you all in the meantime. Patrick Pat Backfeller is leaving a super chat at the very end. Peace be with you all. Well, you too, sir. He says, sorry I missed this one. Well, hopefully you enjoy the replay, and we will see you all again very soon. All right. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.